Okay, so we want to understand the shape of orientation space. And one way to do that is to start performing paths in orientation space. What do I mean by that? Well, let's define a path first. So let's fix our base orientation for Bala. And let's imagine a timer that runs for n seconds, some number of seconds, it doesn't matter. And during this time, Bala can move freely in orientation space. He can change his orientation freely. So we'll call this an n-second path in orientation space. So for example, here's Bala at his base. The path is beginning, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It ends. So that was a 5-second path in orientation space, beginning here and ending there. And the amount of time isn't important. It's just that I wanted to have a clear beginning and a clear ending. So with this basic idea in mind, we're going to solve a series of movement puzzles which are going to help us understand the overall shape of orientation space much more deeply. So get your puppet ready, stand up, warm up your arms and shoulders, because for this activity, you're really going to have to move around. And remember, with your puppet, if you really need to have a puppet of your own now, you can use a ball, but you can also just use an onion or a potato or anything remotely ball-like. It really doesn't matter. The shape is not so important, but it's very important that you draw a face on it, because that's what's going to help you keep track of the spatial orientation at any given moment. So, and for these activities, you can do them by yourself, but it's also fun to have a partner. So if there's more of you in the room, then it's a great idea to group yourselves up. When I do this with a classroom or a live audience, I like to group people up into pairs of 2 and let one person be the puppeteer, one person be the gyroscope. If you're doing it by yourself, you can easily do both roles simultaneously, but if we break it up, that also works nicely. And if one person is the puppeteer and one is the gyroscope, you can keep switching roles for each activity, so nobody misses out. And yeah, it's easy to do both, so don't worry if you're by yourself. So as the puppeteer, what does the puppeteer role do? Well, it's just simply controlling the puppet and trying to solve the challenge or trying to solve the puzzle. As the gyroscope, you're watching what the puppet does, but you can only observe the puppet's orientation. You're ignoring the position. For all of these activities, the position of the puppet doesn't matter. Only its orientation matters. So for example, this path, which starts here, 1, 2, 3, would be the same as this path, which also starts here, 1, 2, 3. So in the second version, the position was changing, but that doesn't matter. In terms of the orientation, they were doing the same thing. As paths in orientation space, they were the same. So as the gyroscope, your job is to just pay attention to the orientation, make sure it's satisfying the requirements of the puzzle. And so let's do the first challenge. This is really just a warm-up. The first few challenges will be warm-ups, but this one will really be a warm-up. It shouldn't be too challenging. It's just to, as puppeteer, pick your favorite orientation and hold it. And gyroscope, you can also be the timekeeper and let the path continue for 5 seconds. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Done. So this is what I would call a stationary path. It doesn't move. So, okay, this challenge was a little bit boring. Let's make it a little bit more interesting. So remember that all that matters is the orientation, not the position. So puppeteer, perform a stationary path, but do it with a more interesting path, physical path in space. Do a complicated path which never changes the spatial orientation, but feel free to change the position. You can try jumping, you can try switching hands, moving the puppet between your legs. Try anything that comes to mind, passing it between your hands, back and forth. But gyroscope, make sure the spatial orientation is not changing as the puppet is being translated in space. So that's the challenge. So good luck. Try this out, and we'll see each other in the next video.